What instrument would you most like to learn to play?
The keyboard.
Why the keyboard?
I don't know, just something classy about people who can play keyboard and piano. I'm going to assume, like myself, that most of the people watching this learned almost everything they know about marching bands from American Pie and that one episode of SpongeBob.
Okay, that's perfect, everybody. Bubble Bowl, here we come.
This is actually kind of a shame, because if you look into it, even just a little bit, you'll find out that marching bands and the people in them are all kinds of badass.
So you say they're badass, but I'm pretty sure there's a stereotype about them all being a bunch of nerds.
Spend your life playing in the band, it doesn't exactly give you the ultra cool hipster image.
Yeah, like the cliche of a member of a marching band is that they are, as you say, just a big bunch of nerds. And I don't feel that's fair or earned, because a guy called Dr. Jeff Edwards went, okay, let's find out exactly how hard these guys work during a routine, I guess. And he got a drummer from Indiana State University's marching band and measured his vitals after a halftime performance, and he was actually kind of amazed at what he found.
So what did Dr. Edwards find?
Well, he found after the performance that the drummer's heart rate had increased to over 200 beats per minute, and that his oxygen intake had increased by about 1300%, which seems like an excessive amount of oxygen to me, but I don't know science. The metabolic rate of the drummer after the performance was likened to a marathon runner mid-marathon, whereas his heart rate was likened to that of an 800-metre sprinter mid-race, or someone who's been chased by several large bears. The key difference here, though, is that while an 800-metre runner's heart rate will go above 200 beats per minute during a race, it will inevitably go back down a few seconds later. However, the drummer in that marching band had maintained their heart rate at over 200 beats per minute for several minutes.
Over 200 beats per minute?
Yes.
Isn't that, like, really, really dangerous?
Yes, it is. Like, I know when I go to the gym and I go on the running machine and you can measure your heart rate, it says, if it goes above 200 beats per minute, unless you're a hummingbird, stop. Because shit's gone wrong and you need a doctor. And this kid is walking around with like 200 beats per minute. It's like, he's just average. He's like, no, I'm fine.
What song do you reckon they were playing?
What, to go to above 200 beats per minute? I don't know, a tribute to Dragon Force? How the fuck am I supposed to know? It's ridiculous. And people think like, it's difficult to conceptualise what 200 beats per minute is. So, Brad, for the people at home, when you're editing this later, just put in a brief, 4-second clip, just so people can get an appreciate of how fast this actually is. I'm imagining now that this was a hummingbird. Just a hummingbird with a set of drums and no one knew. No one noticed. It was several hummingbirds just in like a big costume, just carrying a big drum set with its little wings going. That's actually crazy, isn't it? Well, we measured this, the heart rate of this drummer. Okay, so what was it? It was like the same level of an Olympic level athlete mid-race, but he maintained it for about 5 minutes straight. So why are we getting this kid to play band instead of fucking running? Why is this kid not on the fucking athletics team? That's what I want to know.
But Karl, aren't they all just a bunch of nerds?
No, they're not, as I'm about to explain with how hard they fucking work out. While there's no set training regimen for marching bands, it's noted that members of marching bands from high school all the way up to the literal big leagues are in phenomenal shape compared to the average person.
So I'm assuming the physical fitness is just a byproduct of all the practicing and marching they have to do.
You'd think so, but no it isn't, because here's the thing. Members of marching bands have to take part in endurance and strength training before they're even allowed to join, just to prove they can keep up with the rest of the band.
Why do they need to be so physically fit?
Well, for you, Brad, and for the people at home, I would like you, if you find yourself in a music shop, go pick up a set of tenor fucking drums, pick those bastards up and then sprint to the parking lot and then continue sprinting for another 5 minutes while playing them in perfect rhythm to a pop song of your choice. And then you'll get some kind of idea of why these guys have to be in such good fucking shape. As a reference as well, those drums weigh 30 fucking pounds. So 30 pounds, that doesn't sound like a lot. Try carrying it for 5 minutes while marching in a straight line, wearing a god-awful outfit that's strangling your nutsack and is in boiling hot weather, wearing a stupid fucking hat, and trying to keep rhythm with like 300 other people.
By where they are, I'm assuming that the weight's supported by their back as well.
Oh, it is, but at the same time, it looks like in the picture it's supported by the penis. So I'm going to assume it's all supported by the dong. And this isn't even getting into for how many hours marching bands actually practice.
How long do they train for?
Well, it's been estimated that for every minute marching bands at the highest level perform, they practice for 400 hours.
400 hours training per a single minute of a performance.
Yeah, and keep in mind as well that a lot of marching bands at the highest level have a new routine and performance for every game they play at. So, yeah, someone worked out and said, yeah, that equals about 16 hours of training every day for about a month before a big game.
How do they find time for all the ass they're clearly all getting?
Well, they don't, do they? They all sleep with each other. According to American Pie movies, they're all a big bunch of nymphos. So I'm assuming, it's like the Olympics, isn't it? Have you heard about this? The Olympics are just a big old fuckfest, and every time they hold one, they have to come up with logistics about how do we get this many condoms, because they have to order them in. It's a huge logistical nightmare to get enough condoms for the amount of fucking these Olympians do. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. These are people who are the literal peak of human fitness, and they're all super worked up, and you're putting them all together in a big village where they're all celebrating all the time. And it's like, oh man, oh, it's a dream. It's a dream about the Olympics. I think if they told kids who were enjoying playing football and stuff like that, or oh, if you practice gymnastics, you've got the Olympics and perform for your country. Now fuck that. You can go to a fucking 2-week-long orgy with the fittest people you have ever literally seen. It's like, that sounds great. I'll do that. Thanks, Dad.
So back to the marching bands. They're practicing for 400 hours for every minute.
Yeah.
These are the top level people.
Yeah, they're people who do this shit for a living.
So what about high school? Surely it's less there.
Not as much as you'd think. It's been estimated that high school marching bands practice for about 40 hours per week, which you may recognise as a full-time job. And this is in addition to actually going to school and doing all that homework they need to do to earn their reputation as the big, huge nerds that they are. So that's insane. I don't work 40 hours a week at my actual job, and these kids are doing it on top of school. Can you imagine when you were at school, it's oh yeah, on top of school, now I got to do another 40 hours playing an instrument, and on top of that you got to go to the gym because you got to carry this big ass oboe around. Fuck that.
I don't need this shit.
Reset the block. Front ranks right here.
I should mention that the one place where marching bands in high schools are expected to practice for over 40 hours per week is Texas, because in 1997, parents and teachers agreed that making kids march for 3 hours a day while playing upbeat music was kind of a dick move.
Ruining that illusion of me asking questions for things I don't know.
No, it's fine. If people haven't figured out by now, you've got the script in front of you. They're fucking idiots. For anyone watching this and thinking, yeah, but marching bands are still full of a bunch of pussies, I'm sure the high school football team can still beat them all up. I should probably point out that most sports teams at high school and college level practice less than the marching bands that play for them.
Wait, the marching bands practice more than the football teams?
In most high schools and colleges and universities, yes, they do. To such an extent that a lot of coaches for basketball teams, football teams, any sports teams in colleges and universities and stuff and high schools will take them to watch marching bands practice to show them what they could achieve if they had the same level of synergy and practiced as much as they did. Because obviously, imagine football teams, they practice a lot, but you look at a marching band and you think, there is no way any sports team could achieve that level of synergy. Because you see marching bands marching in perfect unison while all playing the same song, while carrying 30-pound instruments. It's yeah, of course they practice more than football players who can run in a straight line very quickly. One of the most famous examples of coaches using marching bands as an example of what players could achieve was legendary basketball coach Bobby Knight, who was known to take his players to watch marching bands perform and practice whenever his players told him he was pushing them too hard. In acknowledgement of how hard marching bands actually train, Knight was once quoted as saying, if a basketball team trained as much as these guys do, it'd be unbelievable. And let's be honest, Knight kind of had a point here, because when's the last time you saw any sports team marching in perfect unison while also playing the theme song from Halo 3?
Because you see the marching band's doing that thing where they can all march in formation through each other and not change
stuff like that, yeah.
Imagine football teams worked that well together.
Well, that's like the Mighty Ducks, isn't it? That's like when you work that well as a team, you become the Mighty Ducks, and you could do the Flying V. Or it's like that advert for football. Have you ever seen this? The six pack. Like football for like us British people, so that's like soccer to you Americans, I guess. There was an advert, I forget who it was for, I think it was a beer company. They say, there's a new revolutionary soccer tactic that's like, blowing people's minds called the six pack. And it's where six players run in perfect unison and like 2-2-2 with the ball in the middle of them. And they run into the back of the net.
New 2-2-6 formation that's taking Europe by storm. So difficult to stop.
Genius.
And I want to see, like, sports teams start doing that shit. I want to see sports teams who are so in sync with one another, they're like marching bands, where they can do that thing where they can crisscross past each other with perfect unison. They trust each other so much they can march blind in a straight line and know that their teammate will be there immediately.
The opposing team will never know where the ball is, because if your entire team just crisscross, where's the ball gone? It could have got passed down the line, you wouldn't know it.
Well, that's the kind of shit you see in sports movies, isn't it? Where they do like the triple crisscrosses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like in the end of The Longest Yard, where they do the whoop, 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 and they throw the ball like 3 times and no one can figure out what's going on. That's basically the level you get into at that point, isn't it?
To Turley. To Brucey. Shades of Cal Stanford. Back to Crew.
But let's be honest here, if a high school football team ever managed to attain the same level of synergy as a marching band, it'd only be a matter of time until the entire team ran the ball into the end zone in a formation that looks suspiciously like a dick and balls. It's actually kind of crazy to think of how in shape people in marching bands have to be. When you compare it to like the cliches and the stereotypes people naturally assume when they hear the word marching band, they think of like huge nerds like from the American Pie movies and stuff. It's like that is not at all representative of how ridiculously buff a lot of these people actually are. Even if you think about it just from the idea of like just playing a wind instrument, just having the kind of lung capacity to simultaneously march in rhythm while playing a wind instrument in perfect time. When I was at the gym this morning, I saw people in Zumba class struggling to text on their fucking phone while I, simultaneously like marching around and dancing. I can't imagine if I went in and said, here's a guitar, here's 3 drums kits, here's a trombone, here's a saxophone, go. This should be a new thing. This should be like, Zumba can fuck off. I want to just see random people like, here you go, all get out your triangles. How long we got to go? 15 minutes. How long is this Lady Gaga medley? Do you see an end? Do you think Lady Gaga stops? You keep fucking going, okay. I'm out of breath thinking about it. I'm out of breath, like, pretending to do it, because I'm simultaneously trying to talk, drink, and then do a stupid animated representation of what I think it'll look like, and I'm slightly out of breath. And I'm not even like in this hot sweltering sun. I'm in a nice air-conditioned house drinking an ice-cold drink. And I'm like, I don't even want to think about it.
I do think there's some promise in this idea of having a training class, but where everyone plays musical instruments.
I think there is as well. I think we should go one step further and just making it a gym where all of the training equipment is just musical instruments. Because that would be great. Like, instead of lifting weights, like what's a really heavy, it's just tambourines. Where you've got like 400 of them, deadlifting like 400 tambourines. And when you drop it, instead of making an awful loud thud, it makes the lovely rattle of a tambourine. It'd be great. Is it like you're on the rowing machine? Oh, no, you're not rowing, you're playing a giant fucking cello. It'd be great. Not a running machine, it'd be a big piano keyboard thing. So as you're running, you're playing keyboard. So then you know, obviously, if you're off your stride, because you'll miss the note and it'll sound wrong. Mate, there's so much idea in this.
You know this gym's called?
What?
Cacophony.
I was going to call it Karl's Gym.
Carl's gym. Carl's musical gym.
No, Honest Karl's. It's always got to be Honest Karl's. Because then if anyone, you ever see Karl's Gym, if anyone tries to rip it off, they're like, no, wait, but let's go Honest Karl's. I trust that guy. Karl, no. Honest Karl, yes. There's so much here we can do. I like the deadlift with all the tambourines on. That's a great idea. The rowing machine where you're just playing a big old cello. Oh man, what other instruments could you like put instead of exercise equipment? What would you have instead of dumbbells? Bells. Actual bells.
Just bells.
Instead of kettlebells, bells. Just giant big bells. And every time, then you know, when you've done your rep, ding, ding, and you know, it's perfect. It's such a good idea. You get audible feedback to when you do it right. And if you do it wrong, obviously, if you do it too quick, it'll flap up and whack you in the face. Well, you know. So we've got dumbbells. What do we have instead of, I don't know, like the flywheel? When you're doing that, that's the cymbals, obviously. Peck flies, got to be cymbals. So you're doing that. Peck fly, you're smashing the cymbals together. And then you know again if you're doing it right because you'll get the boom.
Why has no one thought of this?
It's such a good idea. I don't know why. I'm assuming there's some YouTuber out there who's made like a skit out of it, and it's probably really unfunny.
We could be that YouTuber.
No. No.